So, very good morning, Mr. Akash Mavle.
Good morning, Ipsita. How are you doing?
I'm doing very fine, and thank you so much for coming this morning to our Fireside chat. So, today our next speaker for the Fireside chat series is Mr. Akash Mavle, and he happens to be the CTO of a company called Dossier. We at QLB and Technavik have seen so many solutions. But when you come to an IT kind of an organization, I see a lot of CRMs, I see a lot of ERPs. That is what they help companies do. But the biggest part, which is I feel amiss today, is the project management bit of it. And we found it very interesting that Product Dossier here has come up with that gap, a solution in that area, which is probably going to, improve the customer experience or the project experience by that virtue, a lot of other improvement, like margins, customer experience. So I feel this is an amazing area. So I'm privileged to have the CTO, Mr. Akash, and he seems to have a lot of experience in AI and NLP, which are the 3A strategies for today companies. He has been a serial entrepreneur for 3 startups and 15 years in AI and NLP. That's a huge thing. I'm looking forward to today's chat to see how he has implemented these technologies in his solution also. I'm very glad to have him on the call. Right now, I'll ask Mr. Akash to kick off the session. Before I ask questions, very quick line about how you define yourself as a technocrat.
Correct. Okay, great. Ipsita, thanks for introduction. And that was fairly covering what I have done. What I would like to further elaborate is, I started officially working on AI almost 15-16 years ago. But my first AI algorithm I wrote when I was in IIT Bombay. So we built a neural network sometime in 1996 to predict exchange rate between US and India. And these were the days when there was no Python, there was nothing available. So we wrote literally by, writing C++ code, no libraries, no framework, nothing actually. And it took 6 months to write a exchange rate prediction algorithm using neural networks. Now, see, AI has been around, this is the 4th wave of AI, everybody says. But now it is relevant because applications are happening around, there is data available, there is convergence in terms of computing, and those are the reasons why AI now is becoming popular. Coming back to Product Dossier's profile, it is we position it as project management and beyond, where we say we are a part of a professional services automation platform making companies, where we generally cover opportunity to cash entire business cycle. So companies might have CRM, HR, and ERPs as their de facto systems. They will have Salesforce, they'll have SAP, they will have NetSuite, they'll have some HR solution. In between all these 3 solutions, what sits is a professional services automation platform. And that's where Product Dossier PSA specializes.
Excellent. So I think you have built the beginning to what I'm going to ask you in set of questions.
Sure.
First of all, applause. Even today when I ask a coder, which is your favorite language, a serious coder, C++ जैसा language अभी नहीं है.
Right. Absolutely. And then C++, the place which C++ was occupying was eventually taken by Java. And Java is still the core of so many products. And products which are used for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, their core is all Java.
Very true. So no beating the old is gold, Panda, nothing.
Absolutely.
So still, I would like to ask you the first question on my list is that, so we'll make Product Dossier your bench now. I know you've done so much more beyond this, but for today's, it's a lovely product. I think it's covering a huge gap. So what are the top and core technologies that maybe you guys still work on? Which are the base of your technologies, of your product and other things?
Sure. So we extensively use, PSA covers the basic transactional flow of opportunity to cash. But in terms of technologies, we use automation, we use analytics. So when I say analytics, it is not only diagnostics, but we use predictive and prescriptive. Okay. We have started embedding AI and ML algorithms and natural language processing algorithms. So one of the algorithms we recently started implementing into our platform is let's say you're starting a big project, imagine 1,000+ people kind of company, where it is very hard to find out for this project who are the relevant people, out of 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 resource pool any company today has. So we built a model using cosine similarity as one of the measures to find relevance for a project or a JD in a project. You rank all the resumes according to relevance. And mind you, this is not a pure keyword search or a typical regular expression kind of search. It uses natural language processing transformer model behind it, and it gives the relevance ranking for a particular JD. So you given a JD, how many of which people are ranked top in terms of relevance, which people are bottom out. So it gives that instantaneously, which is one of the fundamental need of all the professional services companies.
Thank you for sharing that bit. So while you're talking about among your core offerings, yes, professional services, there are a few others also. I was checking your website, but which one do you think will have the maximum resonance in these next few 2-3 years? Now technology is so dynamic. I won't say 5 years, 10 years also. I'll say next
Absolutely. So that's very important question, Ipsita. We started working with pharma and manufacturing companies, but in last 5 years, most of our traction is being generated by IT software companies, engineering services companies, companies like consulting companies. We are reaching out to companies like Deloitte also today. Okay. So anybody who's doing knowledge-driven consulting or professional services, those are the organizations which are adopting professional services automation platform, and particularly our platform right now. So we are seeing humongous traction between consulting, IT services, engineering services companies.
Excellent. That's a need of the professional services. I'm very glad to understand, but today it's so important. You guys thought about professional services automation long time from today. How old is this?
The PSA product is almost more than 10-year-old. There are other products we have. So we help, we do project management, we do new product development. Those were the products we started working with manufacturing companies, pharma companies. And those are we still get work on those. Our product are still being shipped to customer in pharma and manufacturing and automotive for new product development, for pure project management. But PSA seems to it has almost become like ERP for consulting. Or ERP for IT services. And that's
when did you catch this wave that this is going to grow up now?
PSA is a fairly old term, but it is not. So we talk to the research community. There is a guy called Dave who researches PSA for 16 years in the US.
Okay.
And we caught up with PSA almost 12 years ago. So some of our large customers like, Tata Technologies, Quest Global, when they started using it, they were fairly small, less than 1,000 people started using it. Both of them have now become more than 15,000 people companies. And every one of their employee uses product Dossier. And that's something which we are really proud of. And there's a lot of responsibility also. With that pride, there is a lot of responsibility, because if the system is not working for few minutes or few seconds also, we would get call from CEO or, any C-suite level person from any of these companies.
That's an amazing case of user engagement and user, adoption.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So while you are doing this, is there anything, I know you said it's 12 years old, you do research inputs, but something specifically you are modifying and evolving, now to make it even more relevant?
Sure. So what we are doing is we have some of things like margin calculator, which uses fair amount of, forecasting. Then there are predictive algorithms we are using to really predict behavior in terms of how people fill their timesheets. What is happening with services companies is timesheet is tightly linked to the invoices.
Right.
Invoicing is linked tightly to day sales outstanding. So the business impact for CFO or CEO is the day sales outstanding. That's one of the KPIs every services company is tracking today.
Right.
Now that KPI is directly affected by our platform. Okay. So we are making lot of prediction in terms of behavior of people, how soon or how late they fill in timesheet. And that has direct implications to the day sales outstanding of that company. Now this is very small use case. Now I'll tell you another larger use case. We are right now working with few customers where we are bringing AI, ML technologies, some of our own algorithms in doing profitability forecasting. Okay. Now, when I do profitability forecasting, I have to look at resources, I have to look at expenses, I have to look at larger macroeconomic trends.
Right.
So we have created a macroeconomic simulator, which is AI based.
Okay.
So at any point, now we have COVID, we have China plus one strategy, we have war happening. Every macroeconomic shock translates into changes in macroeconomic numbers like inflation, growth, job, and so on. And it affects every industry. So we are building those, our macroeconomic simulator becomes an input to our profitability forecasting model. So we almost have a modeling hierarchy, and each one of the model leverages machine learning, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, automation, analytics, advanced analytics. It leverages all of that to bring the business results to the C-level suite. Now, C-level people in most of these companies were not even worried about which software being used. They think invoice can come and then we will chase customer to pay. What has happened is any organization which is more than 500 people, all these processes are fairly complex.
Yes.
And they cannot be managed by Microsoft Word or Excel anymore. So that is a big realization. So we are in a way coupling our own strength in terms of PSA as a transactional software. We are adding to that all the emerging tech like artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing. So that is giving them higher impact in terms of forecasting, prediction, prescription. All those things are possible now.
In a way, that covered my next question, which was about how are you using automation, analytics, AI, and I think you almost answered it. So moving from there, I would next like to ask you, let's move to the shoe of a CIO now. Now you have told about the product, how you have done it.
Sure.
So when a CIO and his IT head, the IT team or a CIO team is sitting and deciding that this is, I have my ERPs, I have my HRMS, I have my multitude of functional solutions. But now, okay, maybe this is something I need. I need my professional services, platform. So what are the various drivers or, criteria based on which, first of all, you should choose this product?
Absolutely. I think this is a wonderful question, and this is coming up lately or in the recent conversation quite often, because one way of CIOs are going with all the companies or prospective customers is they are making call to Deloitte and Ernst & Young and KPMG, the big fours of the world, to appoint them to select PSA. That's a very matured CIO approach. And we are right now being evaluated at least in 3 big situations with customers in Europe, where Deloitte or Ernst & Young is evaluating us. So that's one trigger which is happening. Second trigger is the CIOs are being approached by resource management heads, HR, people from finance. They are approaching CIO and asking business question in terms of how can you reduce our bench? How can you improve our, day sales outstanding situation?
Right.
How can you make people productive fast on the projects? Okay.
Right.
Now, all these questions are answered by PSA. Okay. So PSA is really ties in the story because the HR system is only having a person in the system, right?
Yeah.
The HR software doesn't help you in getting that person built or trained or put on project. Okay. Yes. There are some people who go out of project. They are being, let's say, ramped down by customer. All that information resides in our product Dossier platform. So that is the real strength. It's a glue actually. It is almost become like an integrated ERP. The whole PSA movement, we call it, Sandeep fondly calls it, it's a cultural change. Okay. Because people thought they can run software companies without any automated solution. This was biggest problem actually in all the thinking. So CIO, there was no CIO in a software company because they were teaching software to their customer. They were not having CIO there. Now there are CIOs who are saying, I need enterprise softwares. I need automation, AI and analytics, and not just diagnostics analytics. I need predictive, prescriptive. So I need all these 3A in a big manner, so AI, analytics and automation. Unless I have this, don't expect any predictability, don't expect any business result. How do I improve my forecasting accuracy? How do I improve my margins? How do I improve my profitability? How do I improve my, utilization of people? How do I reduce bench? These are the 5-6 big challenges every company is grappling with. And more so in present times because now we are facing some amount of slowdown. Right?
True.
Slowdown only people start scratching the surface.
Investing, thinking bigger questions.
Everything is going good. They are not investing in any platform. They are saying, let it happen. Keep the lights on. I am okay without any of these A. I am okay. Now all the A's are suddenly relevant. So there are at least 2 customer conversations recently we were involved.
Right.
Where customer said, unless we are fully automated, we are not ready to move from 4,000 people to 10,000 people growth.
True.
Because a lot of next level of growth can only come if you have fully automated, professional services organization.
No, it's a very wonderful thought because we always, in a downtime, people think of investing in the right stuff and nothing can be better than this. Especially because the gift the data has given itself. If there's so much data residing, no wonder the IT companies also have to reinvest to do the bigger margin, bigger ticket businesses, consistent business. These are very important. And also, like you said in the last point also, that there is the world dynamism is changing. Macroeconomic factors are going to totally, and that is a wonderful model that you made, built into internal project management software to think about it. So I think that's a very good tool if it works well.
Right.
So I did ask you that, but tell me, some in your ecosystem there could be other products. We'll not name them, we'll not compare them. What I'm trying to ask, what should I see? I know they're depending on the Deloittes of the world, to give them. Despite that, what are the 3 factors that they must consider while choosing any product in your category from that competition list?
Absolutely. One big thing which we tell them ourselves is where sometimes we may not be very strong in some areas, but we tell CIOs, try and see if you are getting benefits of integration.
Okay.
Because in a way you are integrating project management function with resource management function with finance function.
Right.
Finance guys are worried about improving billing rates and margins. Resource management is worried about reducing bench. Okay. HR is worried about hiring best talent and retaining them. Okay. Who's going to tie all these, business objectives? So that one big advantage which CIOs will get if they adopt any PSA is in power of integrating all these 3 functions.
Right.
Each one works with different KPIs. Okay. So I'll give you conflicting KPI examples. What is KPI of talent acquisition? More they hire, their KPI is achieved. Okay. But what is KPI of CFO? He should have higher utilization. You saw a conflicting KPI there. Okay.
Yes, there is.
What is KPI of resource management? Reducing the bench. What is KPI of talent acquisition? Adding more people. Okay.
Right.
If you have systemic conflicts between functions and business processes, your only way to save yourself is to have an integrated automated solution. So that is something which is completely realized by CIOs, because CIOs have now realized that you will go up and you will go down also. When you are going down in terms of headcount or you are stabilizing at headcount, you have to get maximum, buck for your every dollar, every rupee you invest.
No, once you made that statement, I mean, it's a very, I'm contemplating. you said, yes, there are so many conflicting systematic KPIs over here.
Correct.
It's a very technical thing, and you being a AI and data scientist and so much of expertise, how in the core do you optimize all this? Is it the company who decides that these are my optimum parameters despite
Right.
just having KPIs?
Right. So what we do is we work with all these functions at C-suite level, leadership level, senior management level, and we try to evolve combined KPIs. Okay. So little bit of data science and little bit of machine learning and AI can quickly give me a combined KPI. Okay. Which means not only just PA tracking, number of people hired, we try to look at what is the life cycle of that person. We try to bring predictability in terms of behavior, in terms of how managers are allocating resources. Okay.
Right.
So the combined KPI is the only way, because so combined KPI essentially means we fuse 2 or 3 variables into one equation by using technique like decision trees or regression. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
Once I have that, I can balance the dependence of one variable to another. I can balance the correlation. I can bring all those things. I can actually remove conflicting KPIs. And I can have more integrated and more comprehensive KPIs, which can be tracked by all functions. And then each one will work on those principles. Because if you really look at TA, I mean, I was talking to a company with 4,000 people, and they have like 60 people in TA. That's huge.
Right.
So having 60 people in TA, their only job is to get people, and then you are increasing, and they were having like 17-18% bench. Now in a slowdown, that bench is not a good bench. Okay. You could have a much lesser bench in a slowdown situation. If you're growing, there is profit everywhere. You could have 20-25% bench. And then eventually we also do this bench aging analysis.
Okay.
So it's not just bench instantaneously, right? You have to look at skill wise, experience wise, expertise wise, domain wise, and you do aging analysis of bench. That gives them phenomenal insights. And then we try to balance them as by building, a little statistical models where we can balance the, effect of all these conflicting KPIs.
That is the most amazing part of having SaaS-based solutions, because 10 years back when this entire, and Technavik also, when we got inspired by this entire story of, profiling and understanding. So if you see, today, you are no more just a product company. You are the company, consulting company because you want to invest in your product, you want to make it best.
Correct.
You want to make it more relevant. But in the process, companies are going to get an international benchmark. You are the one they'll ask, what stage are we? What should our KPIs look like?
Absolutely.
So I feel, SaaS, I don't know how people can imagine, but I feel it is a way of benchmarking best practices, being a perfect consultant and being in that role to help companies even do better.
Right. Absolutely.
Next, I would like to talk about is, as we see nowadays, when it comes to the next question of how SaaS, if the CIO organization is leveraging, on buying or outsource, in your case, yes, they are looking at SaaS, plug and play based solutions, or they're looking at leveraging outsourcing in some, I know it's extension of your services, but let's say leveraging also.
Right.
What would be the guide for a better vendor or a product selection? You mentioned over there in the top that integration is one art. I would say a company's expertise in working with large amount of companies.
Correct. Now the biggest benefit any SaaS-based platform today gives to any customer is ability to see. 10 years ago, people were just looking at their own internal data when they were doing analytics or any data-driven decision making.
Right.
Today, they have advantage of looking at external data. So real picture only completes when you have internal data and external data. And that is extremely well enabled by SaaS-based solutions. So I'll give you one example. Today, we have a employee churn prediction engine.
Right.
It uses algorithm like, decision tree. It uses other algorithms like, random forest, even DB scan, clustering, several algorithmic uses. Now the beauty is not the algorithm here. Okay. If I look at employee churn predictor, I always want to pull out some external data from Ambition Box or Glassdoor or PayScale kind of companies. Okay.
True.
Which are comparing my company's salary with benchmark in my industry. So a software engineer with 5 years experience should have how much salary. Okay.
Right.
And then if it tells me as a services company that my salary levels are very low as compared to market, nobody can stop my people from churning out, right?
True.
So that churn prediction allows me to really pull data from all these external sources, and that can only be enabled by SaaS kind of platform. So those are some of the strengths we could leverage by having everything on SaaS.
Tell me something today. The tech stack, you have chosen some technologies.
Sure.
I asked you that give me a prediction only of 3 years, but despite all of it, can you do something better to be prepared for the next technology change? You have so many users now. You have your product. How do you manage that?
See, what happens is nowadays what is happening is you have one tech stack and you have a evolving tech stack which is far more fluid, which is more of a microservices architecture.
Yes.
Which allows me to really extract all the benefits of. So, for example, we are extending our stack on Google Cloud using BigQuery as a data lake platform. We are also extending. So we are going equally on all 3 hyperscalers. So on Azure we have Synapse Analytics, on Google Cloud we have BigQuery, and on Amazon we have Redshift. So we have to bring our entire data lake, data warehouse efforts onto these, integrated hyperscaler driven, SaaS driven platforms.
Correct.
Once my data is there, the beauty is I can monetize that data. I can bring other data. I can integrate a lot of those enablement. So the basic requirement for any AI or machine learning effort is having a lot of data.
Right.
Having a lot of corpus in terms of document so that I can learn machine learning models on top of it. Okay. So this is how we are leveraging actually the SaaS based hyperscaler platforms to extend our platform. Okay.
Technology obsoletism will be anyway controlled because of the microservices kind of environment.
Absolutely. So my core stack remains the way it is, and then I can extend my stack by having all these integrations. So we have, REST APIs where any other software piece. So in a few customer cases, we delivered integration with Salesforce. In another customer situation, we delivered integration with SAP. One more customer has Oracle application, another has NetSuite. There are even Indian HR products like Darwin Box. Okay. Yes. A lot of that is possible because we have extensible integrable architecture, and now it is all microservices enabled so that I don't have to worry. I just need to follow some basic security protocol, have some authentication mechanisms, token mechanisms, and then I can extend my platform.
Right. So extending from this question, I know cloud is widely accepted now, and the target segment that you or your users are from the IT industry, they're only managing the data and information which is shareable and helps. But there is a certain industry which still wants to be on premise for various reasons.
Sure.
How do you guys have a solution for them?
Absolutely. Now, this was very relevant question because a lot of businesses, you cannot go and convince a business head or a CEO that, you just have to go on SaaS. Okay. So we have architectural option where they could have single tenant architecture. They could have on-prem, or they could have entirely cloud driven, but it is controlled by them. So they can have all these variations. They can have, first of all, they can have completely on-prem actually.
Correct.
Second thing is, even if it is on-prem, we still want to control because they want to get benefits of our product releases and right? So even we control that. This is almost like what large companies do. So I personally worked with, SAP as a partner. What SAP does is SAP always leaves a connection to the instance, even if it is on-prem.
Okay.
And then it can capture all the changes. It can control all the changes. So that's where they can keep on pumping value to the customer. Okay. Because if the customer wants upgrades, enhancements, they want new technologies. Today, we are embedding a lot of machine learning algorithms. We are embedding a lot of natural language processing algorithms. They want all those benefits. So there is one class of customers which wants everything on-prem or single tenant cloud architecture, which is controlled completely by them. We give all those options.
Excellent. So still that question of then using the tech stack doesn't matter because it leaves an instance anyway and it gives you the benefit what you're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, great. This takes us to the very last question.
Sure.
Is that I know also, though you have a US presence, you have international customers,
Right.
your primary back-end center or your center of operations is India, rather
Absolutely.
Pune.
Yes.
Our own Pune.
Absolutely.
So here I would like to ask, do you see a benefit and then some challenges if there are?
Absolutely. Now, see, there was this big move started by our Honorable Prime Minister about Make in India. And we have always making, our product is made in India actually, in Pune.
Right.
Now, what I feel is in terms of advantage we get, so I was talking to a friend of mine. He has a venture capital fund. He has Pune-based venture capital fund, which is SEBI registered. His fund 2 has been launched with 500 crore. Lot of his general partners are Pune-based entrepreneurs who have built software product companies. They have had exits, 1 exit, 2 exit, and now they are pumping their own, money into the fund. And they themselves are funding that kind of startups. Okay. If you look at the Indian startup map, you have Delhi, Mumbai of D2C, B2C, retail kind of startups coming in, mostly fintech and so on. You have Bangalore, which is again coming consumer-centric startup.
Right.
So Pune has that uniqueness, which is coming up with B2B SaaS-based product startups. So you have Dhruva, Mavle, and iCertis. Pune's 3 unicorns. These are product companies.
Yes.
There's other large company, Persistent, has built thousands of products for their customer. So somehow Pune has that engineering base, not just in IT industry. It had engineering base from automotive days.
Yes.
It has one of the highest population of engineering colleges. Okay. So the basic ingredient for building product companies are in abundance in Pune.
Is all here now.
It's all here.
That sounds privileged. Sometimes we feel. And,
we don't realize that. We don't realize. When I go to Bangalore, if I'm addressing some startup, community, everybody is talking either fintech or edtech. And these are B2C startups. Okay. They are still products, but they are B2C startups. Okay. In Pune, people are talking about professional services automation. People are talking about next generation ERP. And in some ways, Zoho is like that. But Zoho is still Chennai, in some villages in Tamil Nadu.
Different.
And they are creating India's SAP actually. It will become India's SAP. It will become India's Salesforce. And it is on that path actually.
That gentleman has a beautiful roadmap vision.
He used... he said engineering or masters or whatever degrees are not so relevant. I want skilled people. Even if they are 12th pass, I'll make them write code.
Yes. I've seen closely that team performing also. It's wonderful to see them in that journey. And also IoT, when you talked about Pune, IoT is because of the manufacturing legacy.
Absolutely. So if you look at IoT and specifically again industrial IoT. So there are again consumer IoT application. You will not have a lot of companies doing that in Pune. But industrial IoT, somebody going on a factory or a plant and improving machine performance, doing predictive maintenance. There are tons of IoTs actually. At least 3 of my friends have predictive maintenance, startups. And they are doing it for all the manufacturing companies which we have. Because eventually your ecosystem kind of, inculcates that kind of ideas in your mind.
Right.
And that's how it is happening.
Let's hope we have a unicorn in that section from Pune.
Yeah, I mean, there was at least 2 of them which are very close to unicorn, funded by a friend of mine. Mostly in next 1 or 2 years, we'll hear about them.
Maybe I should ask you about connecting them, and maybe we should have them too on a Fireside chat.
Absolutely. Yes.
I'll do that. So at this junction, I've almost got the best of what I could hear from you. Is there anything you want to leave this chat with?
So I'm only trying to advise, I would say, young entrepreneurs, students, because they are in a way, I would say they will architect the next generation of. So the digital base for India is already there. Okay. Indians already have that endowment, be it genetic or historical or whatever, where Indians understand mathematics quickly.
Yes.
And that is there with other Asian countries also, be it China, Korea, or Japan. So leverage that advantage, because most of AI, most of all the chat GPTs of the world, most of generative AI, the foundation is math and statistics.
True.
So if you don't have to get 100 out of 100 in maths, don't leave maths. I know a lot of people, they do other degrees and leave maths. I'm telling people that even if you become a medical doctor, a good practicing doctor keeps on publishing, and they will have to comply to statistical procedures of how to publish a paper, how to do data analysis, regression, principal component. So basic 15 algorithm statistical toolkit is used by them for life, even for doctors. And all other professions in between. So doctors at one extreme, engineering is the other extreme. All other professions in between will need some mathematics. So that is the only advantage. If you build something math intensive, you will create a barrier for the next person in that space. You will create wonderful career, or you will create wonderful company.
That's a very good input. I mean, yes. Thank you so much, Akashji, for leaving us on that note. It was amazing having you. I look forward to future, some kind of initiatives towards building.
And great, Ipsita. Thanks for being a nice host and, somebody who's really reflective. Because, I might have so many things to talk, but like you said, bringing out best is what, any person like you would be doing with most of your guests.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Yes.